while you're doing that, I'm just going to familiarize everybody with the situation that we're talking about. For those of you who missed it, earlier this week, a commentator on ESPN made some tweets that did reflect her opinion. And from my perspective, the son of Trump he's trying to leverage her comments to create a lawsuit from my perspective. But I'm just going to read to you guys an article. This is from the Washington Post, and it's titled, ESPN's Jemele Hill stands by her statement that Trump is a white supremacist. And I stand with her. And for those of you out there who also stand with her in that statement, I do advise that you follow her Twitter. It is at Jemele Hill, Jemele Hill, Hill, because I am very glad that she said the comments that she said. And I feel that there's a lot of truth to her comments. And I feel that to her freedom of speech. Oh, that's way better. I can already hear you.
You can?
Way better. I think it was just sometimes microphones, they can be weird. So this is like a million. Now I feel like you're actually here. Yeah.
But back to what I was saying. You can't take our freedom of speech away from us. You don't necessarily have to agree or like what we say about anybody. We can. That's part of our constitutional right. We can sit there and express our opinion, whether it's right, whether it's wrong, whether you like it or not. You don't have to. So just because what she said was her opinion, the first thing you don't do is try to say, well, ESPN needs to fire her. No.
He's running a power play, and he's trying to construct a lawsuit. I can tell that is what he's doing. Because when you look at the lawsuit that I contended with, there's a lot of parallels there. Okay, I want to read some facts from this Washington Post article real quick before we continue. And everyone can check this out on the Washington Post, okay? And the article starts with some facts, and this is an article by Eric Wimple. As a candidate for president, Donald Trump retweeted bogus statistics massively exaggerating the rate at which blacks murder whites. When asked about that move by then Fox News host Bill O'Reilly, Trump replied, quote, Bill, I didn't tweet. I retweeted somebody that was supposedly an expert. Am I going to check every statistic? I get millions and millions of people at Real Donald Trump. All it was is a retweet. It wasn't from me, end quote. So right there, that's some hypocrisy.
Yeah. The problem is what as Americans, what we got to understand is we have a right to express ourselves. Some do it on a quiet forum. Some do it on a public forum, like Jemele Hill and like yourself. But you have that right by the people, the forefathers ahead of us. Yeah. So again, I'm not gonna say I agree or disagree with what she said, but that's her opinion, and she has a right to that opinion. But don't sit there and try to say, well, ESPN need to fire her. I've kind of liked how ESPN has done her because she's never done anything wrong. She's never had any other issues, because they want to try to compare to a couple of other people who, quote unquote, either got suspended or fired for doing other things like that. The one that got suspended, she got suspended because she was warned, did it again, got suspended. The other one was warned once, then still didn't listen, then got fired. So this is her first. So they're sticking to their protocol. That's the reason why I kind of like how they're doing this, even though Donald Trump today retweeted some things once he finally found out about it. Because this came out Monday, if I'm correct, Monday or Tuesday.
I think it did. Yeah, I think it was.
And you just now saying something about it today. And it took your press secretary to kind of put it out there so you understand what was going on. That tells me you ain't up on your tweet, dog. If you're supposed to be the reactive president, you should have been up on your tweet. But I support what she did, and listen to even some of the people in her genre that she works in are very. Some may try to cross that slope, others are. But what a lot of them are trying to do is stick ESPN.
Mm-hmm.
I think they've done a great job.
That's where the money is. That's where the money is because, okay,
right.
Look at the response tweet that Trump says, and I have it right here. He specifically says, ESPN is paying a really big price for its politics and bad programming. People are dumping it in record numbers. Apologize for untruth. Now, I find that interesting because nowhere in these tweets in question did Jemele Hill ever mention it. I'm going to read y'all her tweets. I have them. She says, Donald Trump is a white supremacist who has largely surrounded himself with other white supremacists.
Which technically
privilege
is true. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, you already know how I feel about this.
Yeah.
But then her next tweet, the height of white privilege is being able to ignore his white supremacy because it's of no threat to you. Well, it's a threat to me. I've never been more nervous in my life being an African American in America. So I agree with her there. Then her next tweet is, Trump is the most ignorant, offensive president of my lifetime. His rise is a direct result of white supremacy, period. So she puts her opinions, she puts her thoughts. You know, a lot of people would say, hey, Trump's a white supremacist. Like one. Yes, he does. I mean, there is no official definition of white supremacist. But when I look at Donald Trump, white supremacist.
I look at Trump and with a lot what she said, I agree with, especially when it comes, here's a man, and the hard part what people don't understand is you followed behind a Barack Obama who was an elegant, professional politician who treated America equal. He did, he didn't go left, he didn't go right, he kept everything in the middle.
Right.
Now you bring in this person who is the opposite of everybody. I even hate to say this, George Bush even have more class. George W. Bush even have more class than what Donald Trump is right now. But
well, I mean, I don't hate to say it. I'll gladly say it. Both, I mean, the Bushes, that's why the Bushes have distanced themselves from this Trump fiasco. So, I mean, especially Barbara Bush. We've talked about that before. I really think that she's staying around because she's just decided, like hell, is this going to continue? I mean, nowhere in these tweets did Jemele Hill say anything about ESPN. And then ESPN comes back and they say, the comments on Twitter from Jemele Hill regarding the president do not represent the position of ESPN. We have addressed this with Jemele and she recognizes her actions were inappropriate. Okay, and then she even goes on herself to post something, and I thought that she did it perfectly. She writes, so to address the elephant in the room, #facts. My comments on Twitter expressed my personal beliefs. My regret is that my comments and public way I made them painted ESPN in an unfair light. My respect for the company and my colleagues remains unconditional. And that was the right thing to say because a lot of people are like, oh, you shouldn't have apologized, Jemele. She didn't apologize. Because Jemele Hill is not ESPN. She works for ESPN, but she's not ESPN. When I look at the ESPN logo, I don't see her picture anywhere. She is a commentator, and you are supposed to commentate when you are a commentator. Look at all these other. Okay, what about there are some pro-Trump people on Fox News who have said some very unsavory things. So hey, Trump, why are you a hypocrite? Because they've said very unsavory things about Obama, and so have other people who work for, you know, various media outlets. But he's trying to make an example of Jemele Hill. You know what he's doing. And you know what? I've been waiting for this because he's been wanting for a long time, that whole conglomerate and gang that he is the leader of, or at least the face of. They have been wanting to come after Black women for a while, but they just couldn't quite find the right thing. But there it is. And it's not just about a certain type of, you know what I'm saying when I'm saying this, because they have their, you know, woman who they're like, oh, well, she's Black because she's with us, and I'm talking about Omarosa, and I still think that she's gonna come, you know, something's gonna happen to where, you know, she turns it around. I'm hoping for her sake she does, but they're trying to beat Black women into submission. That is what I'm seeing. Because really the entire Trump administration is trying to beat women in general into submission. I want to make it clear that I think that they are anti-woman, regardless of ethnicity. But Black women have historically been extremely hard to beat into submission, if at all.
That's it.
You know, I guess they feel like, all right, time to get on that task now.
But yeah,
the Black women.
And the one thing that ESPN tried to do, but I'm glad they didn't do, she has a show called the SC6. Wednesday, they wanted to replace Jemele with somebody else. Michael Smith, her partner, said, you replace Jemele, I'm not working. So they was like, okay. So then they said, well, we don't want to make it look like we grandstanded. They asked a couple of other Black announcers that they have, would they be willing to do the show at 6 o'clock? They told them no. What ended up happening was ESPN went back, tell Jemele, hey, let's go ahead and do this. We're gonna squash this together. You and Michael go on Wednesday, and we'll just let the chips fall where they may. So they tried to take a little bit of low road, but when they found out that the others weren't willing to do it, and a couple of other white ones were like, no, we're not gonna help you. Yeah, let's go back, keep what we got going. We'll take care of this as a family, which was smart.
Well, the entire thing, from my perspective, has been blown out of proportion because you're right. They are trying to take away our freedom of speech, but they're selective about it. Very, very selective. I just want to read another one of these facts from this Washington Post article. Seeking reality star, Trump led the birther campaign against President Barack Obama, one of the most racist escapades in this century. As the Republican presidential nominee, Trump said in September 2016, quote, Hillary Clinton and her campaign of 2008 started the birther controversy. I finished it. You know what I mean. Obama was born in the United States, period. Now we all want to get back to making America strong and great again, end quote. So for one thing, he didn't even, take responsibility for his racism. He tried to, shirk that off on Hillary Clinton, like he tries to blame Hillary and Barack for everything anyways.
Right.
But he won't take accountability for, and it is true. I feel like he really gained momentum within the white supremacist community because, we all saw what happened in Charlottesville. Who was there? Really? David Duke, Trump gave David Duke a platform to make a major comeback. And for those of you who don't know who David Duke is, he's like the king of the white supremacists, okay? Andrew Anglin, his website, The Daily Stormer, that was a huge political vehicle for Donald Trump. And did Donald Trump ever even file any DMCAs or put out any statement saying that, hey, I want nothing to do with the Daily Stormer or David Duke or Stormfront or any of those sites? I don't recall seeing any. So, unless he's going to DMCA those websites and unless he's going to openly condone those websites, which he never has, yeah, he's down with the white supremacists. And I do think that he's a white supremacist. I just do.
It's just amazing that you got a president who right now who's I still harping back to the election, Russia. Now you want to try to throw this. You're trying to put so much shade on what you've done wrong because you know this Russia thing's getting ready to hit you. And when it hits, it's going to hit ugly. So he's trying to put as much smoke screen up in front of him as he can because, like I keep trying to tell folks, they know what happened with Russia. Right now, they're not going to sit there and say they really want him to do something stupid. And that's when they're going to drop the hammer.
Well, this all goes back to Jared Kushner, which is another thing I wanted to talk about tonight. There was this news article that was online that I saw. I can't remember where I saw it. I'll actually look it up. But questioning, why is Jared Kushner still there?
Oh, I saw about that. To read it.
Yeah, well, I mean, Jared Kushner basically should be calling himself President Kushner, and that's what no one really wants to talk about. Because, before we even get into that, did you notice on Twitter that they did a Twitter moment about people suddenly burning their "Make America Great Again" hats because of the DACA?
Yeah,
you did see
that
it?
one.
Oh, well, you know what? Let me retweet it. Let me see if I can get to it, if I can see it, because I want everyone to see it. Yeah, Twitter did a whole moment about it because I guess all the white supremacists, they're mad now because DACA thing didn't go according to the way that they wanted it to go, and the immigrants, they still get to basically be here. And now I guess all the racists are like, oh my God, I thought that we were gonna, get to take over America and even have slaves, because that's basically what I feel Trump promised these people. And now that's not going right, so they're upset about it.
See, the problem is what you're trying to do. You're trying to take away all of Obama's legacy, all of what made him famous, the dreamer, the certain kind of provisions for women. He's trying to remove all of this stuff primarily to fulfill certain agendas, but most importantly, take Obama's legacy and try to trash it. Because honestly, Obama embarrassed him. And he can't live that down. And I think that burns him more than anything else.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a lot of things that burn. I mean, he takes a lot of things very personally, but he launches these fights. I feel like he jumps into these arenas without having the proper tools to actually fight in the arenas. And that's what he did with Obama. I mean, what did he think was going to happen? Was it just what? And that's another reason I think that he's a white supremacist. I think that he was so just appalled that a black man became president that he said to himself, well, that just can't be. It's like it didn't compute with his entire operating system. And he thought to himself, well, I can do it. I can do it. That's what I think he actually thought.
But here was the funny part about it. I'm gonna tell you, I forgot what one of the reporters was saying when he said, well, if you was that confident you was gonna win, why didn't you run in 2012? He was like, well, I really wasn't prepared then. Wait a minute, you've been saying since 2004, you said you were gonna run for president. And you didn't do 2008 because you knew that was gonna be a swing. You wasn't sure about that. But here you go, you knew Obama was going to run for re-election. Here was your chance. And you didn't even think about running. You were just like, no, I'm just going to support whoever gets in. Now, the shoe's on the other foot. And you sit up here trying to figure out what's going on. And to be honest, if you look at his face, he's not a happy person. You thought You thought he was?
Well, I mean, he can't even trade in. I mean, we're starting to encroach the time to throw away my current wife and get another one point in his life because he has a certain pattern. He can't even do that right now.
And I love the tweet somebody put out when he said he was getting rid of DACA. The first thing that somebody sent up there, Melania Trump had her getting on Air Force One, her bags packed. I was in stitches when I saw that. I was like, really? Y'all gonna take it to that level? But it is what it is. But now, I bet you didn't retweet about that.
No, well, I mean, okay, so here's the hashtag I was telling you about. I can't find the Twitter moment, but it's hashtag burn my MAGA hat. That's what all of these people are saying. And people are actually burning them. It's crazy. They're posting Twitters of burning the hat. But no, he's just a jerk. He's a great big jerk, and he's representing and empowering and enabling some extremely dangerous people. And he's been, just injecting so much energy into so much just straight up hatred. I mean, there's so many people who are just totally dangerous that he's emboldened. I mean, the guy from Charlottesville who got in his car and decided, I'm just going to plow through the street.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that Andrew Anglin leading that band of crazy, angry white supremacists, neo-Nazis, carrying tiki torches not too long ago. What else is going on? I mean, there's so much going on that normally would not be going on, to where it's becoming extremely dangerous. I mean, let's just talk about the anti-homosexual and anti-gay mindset that he's enabling and that he's really pushing. Woman, I feel like I'm under attack, but the gay people, oh my God. I mean, he's going to ban the transgenders from the military, which I really don't agree with. I don't even, I can't wrap my mind around that one. But he's enabling prejudice and racism and bigotry openly.
Yeah.
And there's so many people who have just been waiting for a time and a moment to be like, ha, it's okay now. Let's go lynch somebody. And that's what they're doing. I don't know if you saw that one tweet about the little biracial boy who was lynched, literally hung.
Right.
Yeah, and that's crazy.
Mm-hmm. And, and the funny part about it was two white cops that went investigated, but instead of talking to the kids individually, you're going to talk to them as a group. And I'm sitting there like, really? You don't do that. You talk to them as individuals. Mm-hmm. You pull them to the side. You say, okay, you tell me what happened. Okay, you tell me what happened. Okay, you tell me what happened, what you saw. But you did as a group. So, and I don't blame the parent for suing. I don't, not one bit. Because that's your child. Mm-hmm. That's your loved one. That's what you conceded to this world. Nobody gave you the right to take that child out or try to kill that child.
All right, here's another thing that he said. He writes, this is what he said. As a brilliant self-taught campaign strategist, Trump said at his kickoff event, quote, when Mexico problems or has problems and they're bringing those problems with us, I don't think I even have the whole quote there. I don't think I'll print it out. They're bringing drugs. So here he is. He's lumping in every person from Mexico. He's like, they're bringing drugs. They're bringing crime. They're rapists. And some, I assume, are good people. He says that at the end, end quote. Pressed later by CNN's Don Lemon about the offensiveness of those comments, Trump responded, the raping Don.
You can't judge.
You see that?
You can't judge a whole race, because again, it's even like in our race. For every 100, you might have maybe 2 or 3 that are bad. Mm-hmm. Same thing in same thing white, same thing black. No matter, you're not going to have perfect people. You're going to have some that fall through the crack. you're going to have some that's going to do evil things. That's part of life. That's part of the life that we live in right now. So I can't judge anybody because I don't want nobody to judge me. So if I got a friend that's a Mexican that doesn't have any issues, comes to work, do what they're supposed to do, hey, I'm fine. Once you do wrong, you deserve to get punished. But you can't lump everybody in box and say all these people are bad. You can't, because unless you can specifically see everyone do bad stuff, you can't do it. You cannot do it.
You know, Trump's biggest mistake was not addressing the support that he's had from very vocal and very loud white supremacist groups throughout his campaign. He knew it was happening, and he didn't say anything because he knew that those people were going to get out and vote. Mm-hmm. Now he's trying to backpedal. And, you know, I feel like being that he didn't say anything, from my perspective, giving that green light and saying, well, thanks for supporting me. So
that's it.
Yeah. And that's what makes this entire situation dangerous. But, you know, getting back to the Jared Kushner situation, do you realize how rich those Kushners are? I didn't even realize until I started researching them.
Oh, they have a lot of money.
Yeah, and
a lot of money.
I think that if you really research Jared Kushner, you'll see that his father was very politically minded. He actually did jail time for some of his political affiliations. He was a Democrat, or is a Democrat, sort of illegal campaign contributions or something that was going on. You can just Google Charles Kushner for those of you out there who are interested in learning about Jared Kushner's father. But they are really, really rich. And I hate to say this, but it's just a theory I have. I wonder if the Kushners thought to themselves, okay, how are we going to get ourselves into the White House? Because they knew that they would never get the amount of support that they need, being that their family is of the Jewish faith. Mm-hmm. That's what they are. They're Jewish. Proclaimed from the rooftops in order to try to say that he's not a white supremacist and that he's not for the neo-Nazis, because he's always, you know, saying, well, I have Jewish grandchildren. Yes, he definitely does. I kind of feel like somehow the Kushners managed to Trump. And then I feel that the white supremacist angle was played up in order to get that vote, get that support. And you know, I tweeted my theories about this, and I'm going to write a little blog about it too. But I was thinking to myself, man, you know, if my theory is correct, I bet a lot of these white supremacists and neo-Nazis are going to end up being really angry at Trump if all this time he was just playing them to get into the office. And, you know, I thought to myself, gosh, what are these people going to do to Trump if my theory is correct? And then today we have the people burning the hats. I think that they're playing a very dangerous game. And politics has always been a very dangerous game. But I just thought it was interesting to see that article where people were like, Kushner, why is he still there? I'm going to find that article because I want people to be able to find it. Because Kushner is not going to go anywhere. My perspective owns Donald Trump. I think that when he married Ivanka, he did not just marry her. I think he married Donald too. And I don't think that there's anything Donald can ever do about that. I think that really the majority of the decisions that are being made right now may not even be coming from but Kushner. I think that I've just found it very interesting that all this time you've had so many people who are white supremacists so certain that Donald Trump speaks for them. Yet Kushner is his son-in-law and consistently by his side. Did nobody notice this? And I'm not against this, but it's just amazing to me that you have these people who are white supremacists who are like, Donald's for us. I mean, what if Donald was really for them, which he seems to be? Do agree with Jemele Hill, because he's never said that he's not. But it's strange, because it's like, did he decide, I'm going to humiliate and make fun of the Jewish people by seducing their top one with my beautiful daughter Ivanka? Gotcha. Was that what it was? Or is it the opposite? I mean, these are all things that I've been wondering from the beginning. But all these things no one's talked about it at this point. And everyone's like, well, why is Kushner still there? Well, of course he's going to be there, because he's one of the richest people in the world. And I think that his father decided, okay, what am I going to get my son for his birthday? Oh, I'll buy him the White House and the presidency.
That's true.
Here it is. It was in the Atlantic. Why is Jared Kushner still in the White House? Hey, Trump is his face. And it's brilliant. I think the whole thing is brilliant. If that's what what I'm theorizing that the Kushners did is true, it's brilliant, because the Kushners have been angry. They've been very angry about the Holocaust. They're Holocaust survivors. So being that they survived, you know that they're angry. So I think that they thought to themselves, we're going to get revenge. And they finally figured out the best way is to infiltrate and use our greatest enemy as our mask. And I think that they did it with Trump. But here's what really, when you think about it, it's like, if this happened, what if there's another Holocaust? It's a Holocaust on the neo-Nazis.
Ooh. And who would be the first one they would string up? Jared Kushner. Because he's,
Well, I'm saying another Holocaust against the neo-Nazis. What if Kushner is the Jewish counterpart today to Hitler?
That's a good thought.
I mean, I know that these are kind of crazy thoughts, but I mean, I'm just looking at this, and I mean, this picture of Kushner sitting next to Trump, it's so ominous. Like he's really is a puppet master. I'll have to put that. Let's see if I can bring that up on this computer, because I want y'all to see it. It's crazy. So I don't know. I mean, I just kind of feel like I'm so angry when it comes to everything. I mean, a part of me thinks to myself, hope that the Make America Great Again Mad Hatters. But then it makes me look at Kushner and everything that he is and represents, and I think to myself, why are you making the world such a dangerous place for me as a Black woman? I mean, is power and money that important to you? Well, apparently so. But and then I look at where their headquarters, the Kushners, it's 666 Fifth Avenue in New York. 666.
Really? Oh,
yes. Yes. That's their building. It used to be the Jehovah's Witness Watchtower building. And now
wow.
own like 52% of the stake of the building, but the address is 666.
Okay. Woo. puts another spin on it. That really puts a spin on
it. Thoughts about the Jemele Hill situation?
Well, I'm just glad that ESPN did the right thing. Jemele has a right to her opinion, and we need to get the White House to understand that's part of our First Amendment. Just because it happened now, again, and I love like what one of the guys said. He worked with the political person that did sports, but they never talked about it. They never talked about it until now. Once social media came around, now it's a open can. Because if you really think about it, before Twitter, Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, all this is out here, politics was normally left to CNN, Fox News, those channels. Didn't hear a lot of about it on, heard a little bit about it on the regular news and normally election time, but you never heard it out in public. Now you have the internet, you have all these other social media outlets. Now it's out here that everybody now can express their opinion. And again, it's like, I think the one time you had a gentleman on the air that when you was doing a short show, who I can't remember what he said, but he wouldn't show his face. I think it was like, don't you know guys kill babies, if I'm correct. But you didn't show your face. You had a right to express your opinion on that. But you was respectful because you said, I'm gonna open up the lines. Do not say anything derogatory, tasteless, anything, or else I'm gonna dump you. And that's what you did. So he came on and did that. He has a right to saying that, but again, you hid your face. Don't hide your face if you got something to say.
Right. And you know what? That's why I like I really admire Jemele even more, because she did not hide her face. She didn't, create a little anonymous Twitter or anything and be like, haha, I'm going to say what I want to say, and then maybe I'll retweet it as Jemele. She didn't do that. You know what? This is how I feel.
It's it. I mean, get off your high horse. First of all, start doing your job. That's the first thing. Donald Trump, you in the White House, y'all have failed trying to get Obamacare done. You have failed. You're going to fail with the DACA. You're not going to get your wall built. Right now, if you don't get your money squared away by the end of October, you're probably, the country's going to shut, the country's going to shut down. At least the government's going to shut down. You got more issues to worry about than Jemele Hill. You better focus in on what you need to be doing first.
Exactly.
And
it's a distraction.
I'm not even going to talk about North Korea. So
big distraction, because he knows that he's not going to be able to build that wall. He knows he can't fulfill a lot of promises. So it's kind of like, oh, look at the horrible black woman, white supremacists, get her. And that way they don't pay attention to all the promises that he made them, that he's never going to fulfill. Instead, they're, now they created a blame with Jemele Hill. It's like, and like what? It's scary, because you're going to be, the same thing is going on, in my opinion, when it comes to, gosh, what's her name? I have to go back on my I cannot think of her name at this moment, but I'm talking, the senator or congresswoman who, she's very outspoken, but she says a lot of good things. Let me find her name. I can't think. Maxine Waters.
Right.
Like, yeah. And, she's come out and she's like, look, I'm afraid for my life at this point. People are sending me threats. People are, saying all kinds of things about me. She received some sort of a letter in the mail with some white powder or something in it. And she's expressing these things when she speaks, and everyone's like, oh, she's just, she's just crazy. She's just this. Well, she these issues if Trump would not consistently rally his troops against her. And that's what he does. with anyone who criticizes him.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I mean, these are just normal people who are his supporters. He has a lot of extremists who are these white supremacist extremists. They're crazy.
Oh yeah. But you know, the one thing that we
and those
have
Kushners know it too. So I feel like these, you know, I hate to say it like this, but I feel like we as African Americans are being used as a pawn in this whole game, and it's dangerous. I mean, we're becoming endangered. I've been in danger when I think about it, but I mean, I'm serious.
Oh yeah,
this is very dangerous. The white supremacists after us. You have Trump blaming, you know, making it seem like we're the ones doing everything. And when things are already getting bad, but that man be president forever. Look at him. I think to myself, piece of trash for ruining this phase of my life.
Calm down, relax, calm down.
And you are too, Kushners, because y'all are funding all this shit. Trying to pit people, and I just see what's happening. And something's just got to get all that whole group out of the White House. Oh, I wish Obama would come back.
I tell you, but I'm gonna say it like this, and don't be surprised, because technically, you by law, you only do 2 terms.
Yeah.
And see, the Republicans did that when FDR, he was going for his 4th term before he passed away. After that, they changed that rule to say no president can do no more than 2 terms. Now, they never said, they said 2 consecutive terms. They never said you couldn't take 4 years off and come back. So don't think that the Democrats aren't quietly going, hey, Barack, you know, we need you 2020.
I hope so. I really hope so. Because
I think what Barack is going to do, he's going to handpick the next challenge. I really do believe that. And the reason why I say that is because if you look at the scope of the Democrats, there's nobody there right now that's interested. But anybody that kind of like, wow, that kind of jumps out at you and says, I like how he sounds. You have a lot of cookie cutter people right now. So I think he's going to find the right person to run this country and do what he needs to do. Because right now, the Republicans, they're more nervous right now coming up to 2018 than they were in 2016.
Yeah.
Because they know with a lot of things they have done, a lot of things that went going on, a lot of them don't know that quietly you got about, I would say about 10 senators and maybe about 30 Republicans that are kind of looking over their shoulder like, okay, something's getting ready to come down. And when it comes down, especially when it comes to election time, because a lot of them had a lot of close votes. And you start to see that shift again. The worst thing for Trump will happen if he lost the House and the Senate. He lose those 2 things, he's a lame duck president for 2 years. It's going to be just like Obama.
Yeah. Well, I'm not opposed to that, obviously. But I mean, politics right now is such a mess.
What else did I want to talk about with you tonight that I was thinking about?
Well, the hurricane made it through that.
Yeah, and I was happy. I'm glad it didn't hit your side. of
Yeah.
Florida,
Yeah.
and at least not head on. I know y'all got a ton of rain and a lot of wind, but
Yeah.
I don't think I wasn't thinking about you. I really was, and I was.
There's been, yeah, well, I mean, the amount of damage, I mean, that was a superstorm. That was not a regular hurricane. They should have
Right.
labeled that thing like a category 10, not a category 5. There, that actually, you know, we can talk about this a little bit. Climate change, it's real.
Yeah, because here's the funny part about it. It seemed like as soon as Irma ended over in Japan, they got 2 typhoons over there. One's finna hit China, other one's finna hit Japan by the end of the week, next week. So all these and these aren't and these aren't small
Atlantic
hurricanes.
heading right. There's a Hurricane Jose heading. They're saying it's going to hit the northeastern U.S., but to me, that trajectory looks kind of like it's headed right for Washington D.C.
Oh.
I think these hurricanes are being manufactured. You know, for many years, people have discussed something called Project HARP. A lot of people are like, "Oh, that's a conspiracy theory." Not so sure about that. It is, you know, the timing of these things, where they're hitting, I think it's more than coincidence.
That's true. Because if you really think about it, like I told somebody else, we haven't had a strong hurricane on this side of America in over 10 years. And all of a sudden, you have 2 big ones. Even though we know Mother Nature works in mysterious
ways. There's more than that going on. I mean, there's a hurricane, what was it, Katia? I think that one was headed toward Mexico. I'm pretty sure, I think it did some damage. But then on September 8th, there was a massive earthquake in Mexico that I think it's like many people have been. I mean, all these things are all happening at the same time. And then Trump's politics seem to be coinciding with some of these things too. Is it coincidence? Is it the end of the world? At Nibiru, Planet X, a little bit. We can talk about that.
I was reading up on that, what you had posted. I would tell me more about that.
All right. Well, okay. Do I think that? Well, you know, this goes back into, you know, the ancient aliens, you know, theory and everything. There's supposed to be this rogue planet or exoplanet that cycles around every, you know, few thousand years that just tears up Earth, and it's supposed to be due its appearance September 23rd, and I guess obliterate the world in October, right? I mean, all we can do is wait and see, because September 23rd is next week. That's Saturday.
Yep, next Saturday.
Yeah, I guess if we look up in the sky and we see something unusual, then we know that there's something going on. But I don't know. I don't know. Nothing would surprise me anymore, considering all these other things that have happened. But I do think that there are truths to what ancient civilizations believed, and you know, we just have to wait and see. But with that weird hurricane and everything, and then that earthquake and everything happening, I do kind of think that.
So we get a fake total eclipse. If we get a total eclipse on Saturday, we know we're in trouble.
I don't know. Will it be a total eclipse? I didn't see anything about that. Well, but we just had a total eclipse. I was at the point to tell me.
If your planet gets in line with the sun and it's actually a bigger shadow, we know it's true.
I don't know.
But you know, I look forward to a lot of things going on the rest of this year. I know one thing I want to talk to you about. I don't know if you heard about it. And this for me, and it's more towards the women. Our so-called Secretary of Education wants to roll back the Obamacare Title IX defenses that they put up, which means if you have rape, you have to be able to investigate it to a certain level. She's trying to pull those back.
They're trying to repeal. I'm going to look it up real quick. You said Title IX?
Yeah, Title IX. There was some provisions that Obama put in Title IX to protect rape victims, primarily women.
Oh.
And she's trying to roll those back.
I know what you're talking about. I did hear a little bit about that. I did hear. Let me just look up an article real quick, because I do know what you're talking about. I do. See, it's a war on women.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I was saying before, with this Jemele Hill thing. Of course, as a Black woman, I'm going to say, oh, here we are. Trump's finally, openly targeting who he hates most. But I can't just say it's only Black women. Trump, outspoken or strong or driven women. He's scared to death of us.
Mm-hmm.
The women that he's able to beat into submission, be it psychologically or maybe even physically, he's okay with them. And to the women out there who are okay with submitting to a man like Trump or the individuals in his administration, shame on you. Shame on you, women, because I don't even consider or down with Trump administrations as women anymore. I just don't. But when it comes to the, wanting to repeal things having to do with victims' rights, when it comes to rape or even, they're trying to make it to where to a woman, the woman just has to shut up and take it. That's really the mentality that I'm getting from the various things that Trump's administration is doing. I mean, they did to Hillary was so bad. And I don't agree with Hillary on a lot of things. I mean, there's some things that she says to where I'm just like, oh, Hillary. But of the way that she is, her demeanor. One thing I do like about Hillary Clinton is her demeanor. How she just talks to people. She doesn't. I do what I think really messed her up in her campaign. When I really think about it, the fact that she held back her true personality. Because if you really, she's pissed, okay? And I think that it was going to be Trump no matter what, because the powers that be just wanted to in there. But the way that she talks to people really is not that dissimilar to Obama's demeanor. But she's a woman, and she's not supposed to have that demeanor. She's not supposed to have those inflections in her speech. She's not supposed to have the, hey, I don't give a fuck what you think kind of attitude. She's smart as hell, not just educated. If she put a man with her exact same platform, that'd be fine. But because she's a woman, but no, with his, I just gotta find this real quick so I can at least say the right thing. But when it comes to Trump repealing things having to do with rape, I wish you knew what the article was, because I can't find it. I'm looking at my phone right now.
It blew my mind.
I'm not surprised.
I kind of listened to it on the TV when they said she was doing it. I was like, she's doing what? And the first thing that popped in my head was, being a sports fan, the Baylor football situation. You had a ton. You had about 6 football players that were accused, and most of them were prosecuted, of rape. And at a school, when I say a pure Christian school, because Baylor is pretty much a Bible school, and you got football players attacking your women and doing the things that they're doing, and I don't condone that. I don't.
I found it.
Yeah. But you trying to roll those things back.
Yeah, I'm going to read this for people. Title IX change attacks Obama legacy at survivors' expense. I'm reading this from Daily Trojan. only fitting that the Secretary of Education selected by a president who once advocated for the sexual assault of women would roll back protections for sexual assault survivors. Indeed, Betsy DeVos' announcement that she would revoke Title IX protections for sexual assault survivors implemented by the Obama administration sends the message that women will not be protected during the Trump administration. Well, no surprise there, but let me continue. It is true that the implementation of Obama-era guidelines is not flawless, and civil rights advocates must be honest about their need for reform. The preponderance of evidence standard generally thought of just over 50% confidence that what was alleged took place, which is far below the beyond a reasonable doubt standard to universities has become of particular controversy, even though universities are not courtrooms and sexual assault is unique in that evidence is extremely difficult to procure. The lack of cross-examination and discovery make education more difficult for both parties. It is still unclear whether the right against self-incrimination for the accused should be recognized. Sometimes the blunt wielding of these rules can lead to absurd consequences. But the Obama-era guidelines, coupled with Joe Biden's It's On Us campaign, still did a lot of good for students. They placed the burden on schools to take sexual assault allegations seriously and to impart justice on their students. They actively worked to dispel victim blaming and myths about women crying rape. They created an impetus for campuses to hire Title IX coordinators to deal directly with the issue. The concept of affirmative consent, a yes means yes policy, which encouraged better communication, and they catalyzed campus activism on sexual assault. Biden's personal involvement with the campaign, visiting colleges around the country, telling young men that sex without consent is rape, created a male role model for young men to act ethically. Although the education process for campus sexual assault is imperfect, greater due process protections could be instituted without wholesale rollback of the Title IX protections. With this rollback, much of the progress being made could be halted. And this goes on. If y'all want to read this, go to dailytrojan.com. It's titled the Title IX Change Attacks Obama's Legacy at Survivors' Expense. But see, this is what I'm talking about, because the reality is that there is a very high percent of men out there, rape shouldn't be a crime. They feel like, well, if I can get away with it, haha, you know, that they think that women should be subservient to them. It's their God-given right. You have this rise of these men's right activists, MRAs. You have these damn pickup artists running around. That damn attorney who sued me represents them. They just created this whole new competitor to Twitter, a new social network called Gab that is basically a safe haven for not just trolls, but these men's rights activists and these pickup artists and these misogynists who just feel like rape shouldn't be a crime. I should be able to have sex with whoever I want, whether they want me to or not. That's really what it's about. And when you look at so many people who are in Trump's administration who, you know, are celebrated, they don't even have women from America. They don't have American wives. Trump, he only was with one American woman as a wife. That was Marla Maples. So they know what he's about. And what about that? What's that other guy's name? Mueller or whatever? The one he a lot of criticism. He's like the Secretary of Treasury or the Treasury Department guy.
Yeah.
A wife from Scotland who berated a mom of 3 kids saying, oh, you don't understand, I can do what I want because I'm rich. That's basically what she said. And so these men that are controlling our country now and have any respect for American women, and they don't even want American women around them. Looking at here. And I mean, everything that was said and done to Hillary Clinton was the biggest slap in the face, I mean, that could have possibly ever happened. They just, That was just a field day for men who are likely okay with rape to just look at her and be like, Hillary, slap, slap, beat her down. That's what it was. Women, it's just a war against women. I'm writing a song about it. Because I can't take it. I've never been so into politics, but it's because I just look at the world that I have to be in. I have to try to make a change because I refuse to allow this into the future. It's just not working for me. It's not working for me, and it's not working for the young girls who have to grow up in this world. Gosh.
And I saw you on Periscope, I think it was Thursday after I finished bowling. You are very talented. I love the way you played the keyboard.
Oh, you're nice. I was just messing around that day, and then I realized I'm like, I don't even want to play on Periscope today. But thanks for watching.
I was like, go ahead, girl.
Thanks. You're sweet. you're so sweet.
But so, I know what I wanted to talk to you about also. One of your posts about, I know you had actively been doing your thing, but you came out something that, and I just wanted to know why. Your state of celibacy, which is again a woman's choice, which I have no problem with. But
well, that is one of the topics for tonight. We just haven't gone there yet. But yeah. No, that's just that's where I want to be right now. Where I need to be right now. The reason that I brought it up is because I noticed that some of my haters were saying that choice because I'm HIV positive. I am not HIV positive. Sometimes people just get to a point to where, like, keep in mind, I'm an interesting case because I've gone through a phase of extreme sexuality. I was in porn. So it's like I swung one way, and now I guess I'm swinging the other way. I just, even before I did porn, I wasn't one to really have one night stands and things like that. At 38 years old, I've come to realize that I really want any future sexual encounters that I may have to be full. So I'm just not going to run around and have sex just to have sex. And even if I'm dating someone that I like, they're just going to have to wait because I like not having sex. I really do. A lot of, I've realized that I am a lot more creative without having sex than with having sex. I actually feel very centered not having sex. I feel that I can rechannel those urges into other elements and other aspects of my life. A little bit of a spiritual thing even, or a lot of a spiritual thing rather. And I think that maybe a lot more single women try, just because you have the options out there for, you know, birth control and whatnot. You have to have sex. I collected my thoughts in the way I want to when it comes to expressing my views on this, but I just don't feel that the world deserves my sexuality right now. Yeah. At least not when it comes to me physically having sex. I think that, you know, perhaps my sexuality will come forth in other ways through my art, my music, my writing, who knows? But I just don't want to engage in the act for an indefinite amount of time. And I just like that decision. And I have no problem talking about that, because I want other women to realize you're wrong with making the choice not to engage in sex routinely.
And besides, is you want to be with someone that is at your level. And I hate to say, there's a lot of men that's not at your level right now. I'm just being honest. You're at a level right now from what I'm
you're
seeing.
going to attract haters. Now, there's a lot of people are going to hate you on Twitter for saying that.
But I'd rather be honest. I'd rather be truthful and honest than to sit here and pull somebody's strings. Right now, your mental level is so much higher than most men out here. It'll be very difficult for you to find a man at where you at right now. Most of us, again, and it's true. They can get mad. I'll take the blame. Most women, intellectually wise, intelligent wise, are always at a higher level than men. Don't ask me how. That's one of God's blessings He gave to y'all, and a curse for us. Women are always at a higher level than men. What a woman wants is not necessarily a man. If you're striving to get to that level with you, you would take care of him more than you coming down to him.
And that's the thing. I'm not willing to
come down,
lower myself or settle. I'm the kind of person who's very, some people would say I'm strong-willed. Some people would say I'm hard-headed. I say I'm just as I am. But I don't, I've gone through so much. I'd rather never have sex again. I'd rather retain, my solid, being single, than deal with somebody that's going to frustrate me, make me feel anxious, or just make me feel to where I say to myself, what am I thinking? Why am I with this person? This person's just, and it could just be the age that I'm at right now too. I don't really know, but when it occurs to me is that the media inundates us with these images to where, okay, Sex in the City, for example. I love the show Sex in the City, but I don't like the message. Tries to push this agenda of women in my age range. Well, I got to be like a man, and I just got to, I'm just going to go out there and have meaningless sex. And maybe that works for some women. And if it works for you as a woman, great. But for me, it does not work. I'm not going to be that woman, because I have a lot of paranoias too. I think to myself, germs. I think to myself, awkward moments later in future social situations, if you see that one night stand somewhere, a lot of things. But I just feel like there is actually a sexiness in being celibate, because my sex is just me. Or maybe instead of saying celibate, maybe I should just say I'm monosexual. That's it.
I don't blame you.
I didn't want to talk about that because I think that a lot of women might feel the way I do. And I don't think that we should be lumped in as being, dysfunctional, or a closet lesbian, or we secretly have HIV, or, just anything that's negative and false and derogatory. Sometimes there's probably men who feel this way too, who are like, be a male slut. Why should I be this guy who's running around having sex with everybody? You gotta have some self-respect. That's what celibacy is for me too, having some self-respect and saying to myself, I'm not just giving myself away to just anybody and everybody. I mean, I did the porn. That's enough. That's enough of me being sexual out there in the world. I think it's, I don't think that there's anything wrong with deciding, I'm out of that sex pool.
And there's nothing wrong with that, in my opinion. I mean, you have to do what's best for your body as well.
Yeah.
Our body
I'm just to
is
the
our
point.
temple.
It is, and our body is, our body is not just a physical thing. It is a spiritual thing. Our spirituality, from my perspective, and our mentality, our psychological well-being is directly linked to how you feel. The more you work out, the more that you exercise, the better often you feel about yourself. It's not even just working out or exercising. It's eating right. But it is having that respect, because you only get one body. That's it.
Right.
And I'm really love myself. So for me, part of loving myself is being celibate. Different people have different kinds of sex drives and everything, but I think a lot of women and men would find that the moment you stop, you just take the sexuality out of the equation of your life, or arenas of your life just suddenly expand and open up to where you find yourself, doing things that thought about doing before because you were so preoccupied with sex.
The hardest thing, in my opinion, in a relationship, I always tell folks, sex is the easy part. That's physical. It's knowing that person mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Once you go those three, the sex will even be better once you master those three. So, I know whoever's out there listening saying he's crazy, you don't know what he's talking about. Yes, I do. I've been through the days where as a young man, I would first skirt came around the corner, that's what I wanted. But as I've gotten older and more mature, I started to realize what I wanted in a woman. And that's the reason why I'm single now. I mean, I have no girlfriend. I have some female friends, but nothing major. Because I got to find the right one.
Yeah.
The hard part. And I'm just not going to settle for anybody. I've settled, and I still have a friend who I dated for 7 years. We're still the best of friends. And we still have a great friendship. We're just not intimate. We can hang out, do whatever, just not intimate. And in a way, I like it like that, because I know as soon as we shift into intimacy, it's going to change.
It really does. It really does. And I completely agree with you and relate to you on that level. I'm going to try to be careful not to become % anti-man as I continue on my journey. But you're going to have to hold me back from that, Anthony. You're going to be like, oh, but I am disappointed in a lot of men when it comes to where society's view of sexuality has gone. And I think there's hope, men such as yourself, and you're not alone in your thinking. And I would like to see more men speak out, like like that article I just read about that Title IX. It mentioned Biden, and Biden creating more of a climate of men realizing the atrocity that rape is for women. It really is. I don't think a lot of men quite understand how rape affects women. And, men can be raped too. They can. Yep. So, you know, but a lot of men, they just don't get it. And I really would like to see these pickup artist movements and even these men's rights activist movements scrutinized a bit more by government legislation, because some of these people who are behind these movements need to be brought before a judge in a court of law, because they are creating a level of hate towards women within certain very weak-minded males who are just angry, depressed, who feel that the world owes them something, who are mad about, you know, probably a plethora of things that have nothing to do with women, but women have been made a scapegoat by these men's rights activist leaders and these pickup artist speakers, and you know, just the way that we've been so objectified. And then we have that Trump, the way that he, you know, prances around Melania the way he does. I mean, he might as well hold up a big sign that says, "Women, be seen and not heard." It is. And, you know, it's,
you know, getting back to our first ladies, I've always said, you know, we had maybe two of the best first ladies in the past couple of years, Hillary Clinton and Michelle Obama. And when I say classy,
yeah,
very classy, and nothing against George Senior's wife was very good as well. Now I never saw George W. I never saw his wife.
That's
it was
true.
more like she was like, "You do everything. I'm just going home and just sit at the ranch. I'll talk to you later. I'll be up there periodically." But you have a wife that is not an American, and when she does questionable things, like when you go to a floodplain, you don't wear stilettos.
There's a lot of very strange things about Melania, and these things have been brushed under the rug. I mean, from the way that she was introduced to and she is an intelligent woman. She does speak several languages. You know, she has to have some sort of a degree of intelligence, considering the social circles that she's matriculated in, and who she married. But the fact that she doesn't seem very to take on more issues in order to counter some of the negativity that she's received tells me a lot. Seems, and I could be wrong, I don't know who picks out her outfits or anything, but she just does seem to exude an air of materialism. I think that she seems very very in the third dimension. There doesn't seem to be much to her when it comes to her spirituality. I don't really. Well, you know how I did that interview with that guy who photographed her nude several years ago, right?
Yeah. Right.
There were some things that he said, and I'm not going to get into it so much today, but there were just a few things that he said to where when I look at her, I just think to myself, care about anyone but herself. And I could be wrong. I've never met her in person, but that's just the impression that I get, and considering just what that particular person who encountered her told me, that's my impression. And I would love for her to prove me wrong, but she just doesn't seem to have the interest. When she was making her appearances, when it came to the flood victims, I found it strange that she was wearing that hat, and she seemed to have it pulled down to where you couldn't even see her eyes. She often wears sunglasses, actually. And whenever someone is trying to eyes consistently, I wonder about them. Something I think about. I feel that she's taken a back seat to Ivanka. As much as the Trumpers want to say, oh, it's fine if Ivanka takes the place as the first lady. No, it's not fine.
No,
it's not. It's not fine.
If you want to go slutty and trashy, yeah, have your daughter as first lady. That's slutty and trashy. I'm sorry.
It's not fine, and it really asserts a theory when it comes to actual role in the White House. Ivanka is being viewed as the first lady, then I think that we need to be looking at Jared as the actual president.
There you go.
And not Donald Trump. Leave it at that. I got to get going. I'm sitting here being rude, eating some chicken salad over here.
Nothing wrong with that. You've had a busy day. You're a little hungry.
Yeah.
So ain't nothing wrong with that.
Conversation once more. This was great, Anthony. This was fun.
Well, you're just a fun person to talk to. If a lot of people, if they listen, they need to follow you on Twitter. They need to follow you because your opinions are spot on. And
maybe I need to do some publicity stunts. I need to do some publicity stunts of some sort. That's what it is.
Because you talk about everything and anything, and even though the one thing I am proud of you is with what you're going through with your situation, you're letting us follow you. You're letting us know what goes on.
Well, there's a lot to come when it comes to, and I know what you're talking about. We're not going to get into that today, but there's a lot to come with that because I am not going to stop fighting those jerks.
Yeah, and my support is with you 100%. And
well, thank you.
If we have more people like you that weren't afraid to fight the system, not only for themselves but for others, see, you can start to show the foundation for others who have issues like you have. Hey, let me start going to court. Let me do what she did. How can I find out how she did it so I can get my stuff together? When you start doing the thing, and you shouldn't. And again, our country was designed to where you have a right to express your opinion, to fight for your rights, and to display yourself how you seem fit. You don't necessarily need a lawyer, and that's one of the things I'm proud about you.
Right.
You're not necessarily using a lawyer. You're doing this on your own,
right?
And that takes a lot.
Yeah, well, the way I look at it, put me in a situation to where I do not have the resources to get an attorney, but I think that everything's for a reason, and I'm glad that because it's forced me to use my brain. And I do believe that our is designed for the little guy or the little girl, We all are entitled to complain when we want to. We all have the right to, assert our rights and let the courts know, hey, this is what someone's doing. Know about it, because it's not always about the win. Right. It's about the historical record. And that is just, that's definitely going to be the last thing we talk about tonight. But history. You got to know the history. And you also got to pay attention to exactly who's writing the history when it comes to what you really believe. That's what we're looking at now with that Jemele Hill. I think it really bothers Trump that she is a voice that's of historical note.
That's it.
On history to look at him in a certain light, even light of truth. So that's it, everybody. This was Alexandra Mayers live. Also, Anthony live.
In closing, Alexandra Mayers, 2014, President of the United States.
2014? That's in the past.
Correction, 2024.
There you go. We'll see. Give me a
you have
call,
yourself a
Obama.
great night.
I'm right here. All right. Good night. Good night, Anthony. Sweet dreams. Good night, everybody.
All right, you
Bye.
too, dear. Bye-bye.